A protest and a poem go hand in hand. I think a lot of times in times of like significant upheaval, revolution, like when they want to shut people up, it's the poets they go for, you know.
We'll be pitting poems against protesters in a moment, but first, if you haven't yet downloaded the Ulster Orchestra's app, yes, that exists, then it's perfectly possible you don't know that tonight the orchestra, along with Jack Liebeck on violin, will be making their way through Elgar's Enigma variations, as well as music from Britain and Corngold. And according to the app, if you get there by 7, you'd also have a chance to hear a talk from cellist and conductor Paul Watkins. Now, we've looked before on Culture File at the great surge in pop-up venues and improvised events that Ireland's property crisis has gifted the country, and it's a scene that's now brought together a rock musician, a songwriter and a poet who see yet another upside to the crisis. Calling themselves the Unruly Trinity, Mark Cullen, Simon Quigley and Colm Keegan, who first came together at Dublin's Nighthawks Cabaret Club, have produced an EP that certainly bemoans the state of the country, but it also foresees a boom time for Irish culture, because prosperity, they told me, produces terrible rock bands.
2000 to 2010, even on a world scale, if you look at it, you know, what have you got? Coldplay? Do you know what I mean? Bands like that, Travis, whatever, it's just nothing. U2, just a glut of nothing. I mean, in the 80s or whatever, a lot of the bands or musicians were on the dole, and they had the dole to be able to go and do music or do art. And it's only when, I think, when times are hard and socially, that you get kids coming from Ghost Estates. You'll have loads of new little Paul Wellers running around now, maybe not as interested in their PlayStations anymore, but going, oh, there's not money to buy this, or I can't have a new Flickr scooter, but I can get a cheap guitar, or I can make some noise, and I can shout about it.
You've seen, like, quite recently in the last couple of days, student protests happening in the UK as well, and I think that's really, really important. I think it is really important that people start kicking back, because all of this thing of like, oh, we have to do this and we have to do that, why? I think people really need to start getting energised. And, you know, you start using other different methods to say, right, okay, well, if people are going to lose money out of this, it should be the people who made a huge amount of money out of it as well. So, you know, music, you know, projects like this, and you know, there's plenty of stuff that's happening around the arts around town at the moment, of lots of plays and all sorts of various different things going on that are also reflecting this as well. And that people really need to get back out and get the connection back with that, and go out and see the music that's out there and get a real connection back with the arts again, because that's what's going to drive people to say, right, okay, you know, that's where the next sort of, you know, how Ireland will regenerate itself.
Down lost country roads, where villagers with smiles are contemplating bombing H-Boss.
There's a performance poetry scene in Ireland that I wasn't aware of a few years ago, and it's just kind of like one of those fluky things. I fell into it, you know, and at the same time that I was having an interest in being creative myself, there's a forum for it, and it's mad. I think a lot of it's to do with pubs are saying, how do we get people into these pubs? And they're going, well, open mics, you'll get at least 10 acts in and they'll all buy beer, you know, so it seems to be that kind of thing going on.
I know the things that I like about the whole thing are places like Ghost Estates. I live on one, and I never particularly like neighbours, so it's a great place to live. But it's even things though, you know, I find at the moment, which I don't know whether there's something wrong with me, but I've been sticking on the Dubliners on the way home and listening to Our Nation once again, and it really stirs your blood, like, you know.
Dublin itself is facilitating this movement, like this kind of this independent creative movement. And it's not a political movement, it's just the creative urge is there again, you know. And like for me personally, I remember being younger and deciding like I didn't want to be a consumer, like I just didn't want to take what was being, like what I was getting spoon fed. And that's where the urge came from me. So it's great now to be like, 35, and to see people like, I don't know, Sarah Marie Griff or Garrett Stack, these young people coming out of college and starting up stuff themselves. And for me in Nighthawks to say to them, you know, I'm part of this scene, and the Glore Sessions and the Brown Bread mixtape, and to say, look, we welcome you, and here you go, here's a forum, have your say. And it's brilliant. It's like we've just rediscovered what it means to be spiritual, to have that aspect of ourselves, like, you know. And I think, you know, Dublin itself, it's like the Gaia theory, you know. It's like kind of, it's responding organically. And the scene is just, this venue's just popping up like overnight.
I used to be the cynical
I just talk about the energy that's in the city now. I think this kind of reflects that a little bit, and it's called the crackle. There's a party full of fat frogs and coke all over the table. There's a man out by the livy getting out while he's able. There's a fight starting somewhere. There's a fella getting stabbed. There's a car doing handbrakers. 2 girls jumping a cab. There's gypsy bouncer hacks keeping an eye on the door. There's a black dude in the jacks cleaning puke off the floor. The country's getting locked and nobody cares. There's a slut going down and there's danger in the air. There's men drowned in money. Girls who'll never bend. There's a beggar whispering honey, but that's nothing down his end. There's the gentle sound of heartbeats. There's alleys full of death. There's a man after your brother. There's a lightness to your breath. All these people hanging round, everybody acting cool, and the night time, well, it's freezing, but don't let that fool you. There's a crackle to the city. There's a steam of dreams that rises, and it gets behind your eyeballs, and it kind of compromises the concrete, the shell, all the bits that sink to hell with it. There's another bit, a hoping bit, and it screams out, make a difference, 'cause the city's electricity, it shines on us. We're sparkling, and love it, man, 'cause further out, there's nothing, only darkness.
Thank you. I was talking there to the Unruly Trinity, and you can find their EP, Ireland Is, on iTunes.